Hey, good morning. Must have had I can't even remember how many fractured flickers I experienced at night. Dreams. I actually had a dream with Tom Cruise. Can you imagine that? And guess what it was about? Here's a frame, a picture of it. It's like being conscious and aware of yourself, but you're not there with Tom Cruise um, in physical form. He doesn't know you're there. It's like observing what's going on. And he was there because of the material side of things, right? The stuff that we create, like I've covered before about, um, taking from nature, and then from what nature gives us for free, they change that into something else, and then it becomes a commodity, right? Covet what nature gives us for free. And so what he had done is he had a pair of earrings that he was showing somebody that was right next to him, right? But I'm simply observing. He doesn't know that I'm there. This is called dream walking. And so he had a pair of gold earrings that were like really expensive, right? Like the finest gold, highest, the purest of gold, the way that they measure carats, right? And so that becomes a prop, what I call a movie prop, right? Just like in all their movies, right? The costume is like a prop. The script is like whoever writes the script, right? And I talked about this yesterday, and so it's really funny about the Shakespeare, right? The stagecraft is witchcraft. Okay, that's how they fool everybody. It's a symbolic representation that gets mapped and recorded into the psyche. So the battlefield is the psyche, which is the energy of the soul. And the way that mirrors work, right? Their mirror, which is black, and our mirror, which is light. Which mirror are you? Remember, I mentioned this before. Everything that is in my mirror is what I am in love with. Everything that is in their mirror is what they hate and want to destroy, right? Which is themselves. By virtue of using their energy to consume everything that is in the exterior, rather than being the energy that is in the interior that is generating the hologram out of what love is. That's how inverted works. So if they can invert the mind by getting them to believe that what is on the external is what's on the internal, they lose their soul's energy. That's the game. That's an AI war game. So I was reminded, and this goes back to when I was a little child. When I'm looking at my father's, actually because I was perusing through the language that they speak, which is self-destructive. Okay, because all you have to do is look at what they build, and it didn't take long, at least when I was a kid, to walk through any town and city. Obviously there's a difference between nature, but anywhere that I was experiencing what they build, you realize it's self-destructive on its face. Okay? By virtue of the health impact by what they created. But they didn't create it. They need a creator to create it with, because all I can do is make a copy. That's right. That's how the mirror works. They don't know the difference in the mirror. And that's why they end up not knowing the difference in mirrors. And if you don't know the difference in mirrors, your soul is gone. That's how it works. One's dead, one's living. If you don't know the difference between a dead magnet and a living magnet, then you're the dead magnet. It means you don't know who your true self is, with a soul, with living light, which is a living mirror. Sad to say, that's how it is. And so when I was thinking this morning when it relates to technology, and again, this is the same thing I knew as a child, like repeating the same patterns. When you think of there is no time, there's only what love is, right? So now you get into the speed and the acceleration of technology, and then you can get into the speed and the acceleration of learning. If the soul and the spiritual development is not matched with the use of technology, then you see what happens. The technology becomes the destroyer of what they weren't able to learn by the mistakes they keep repeating as a result of the speed and the acceleration of technology. So if the acceleration of technology over time, and you can see how the accelerator of technology works, look at all the technology we got, look what we developed by having a networked formation of consciousness that's collaborating together to build all these toys. Look at what we can do. The power of technology, and what happens is they begin to worship technology. Now technology becomes their God. Okay? Because now that's the exterior through technology rather than through God. The EFFI force field, which is eternity, which is the eternal spirit of fire, which means creating worlds born out of what love is. That's the eternal life creation spheres. That's consciousness creation spheres, which is the oversoul arcing generator of galaxies without the use of technology, which is pre-phase, then phase, like the auroras, right? The form and the flow of spirit. So it begins with spiritual energy creation. So I thought I'd share that because I ever since I was a little kid, it's like technology transfer. Look at the new toy I got, the new gadget that I got. Whoa, look what I can do with this gadget. And I realize I have a different perspective on this because one example that I use, and I could pick anybody out of the hat, but I'll just say some anonymous person showed me what their mind, because of the intelligence and creative, knowing how things work, what they're able to use their consciousness to will if you manifest it, because now your mind is experiencing it by the energy that you're using to make it happen. With a weapons platform, if you will, directed energy weapons in order to maintain what it is that you're experiencing that's related to Star Wars, right? And so you realize that's technology. Okay, that's technology that is used to do what? So what ends up happening is that I realize that what you just manifested in your own mind to give you the ability to be able to do what it is that you're doing in your mind, to play that game, because that's what it is, because it's a war game, okay, means it's already obsolete. Because there is another engine that is in play, which is the first engine, which is the eternal spirit of fire, that will always move faster than that, in order for the entire cosmos to never experience war ever again. So I was very pleased to see last night. So this is not a coincidence, because I've been barking this since I was a little kid. Where I went from time to time, I go to see the place called the Portal, just to see what people are putting up there. You know, where y'all at? Right? And so last night, I went there to see, and at the very bottom of the portal, it said, ending all wars forever. There won't be any darkness left after this. Which means, that's like saying that everything that we've experienced up until now, that represents one unit of consciousness going to war against another unit of consciousness, okay, in order to drain energy from a soul, is not going to happen ever again. I thought, well, what do you know? The speed memo is being circulated to the morphogenetic field structure at a higher rate of speed now, because the servers are being cleaned out. Which means it's taking a shorter amount of time for us to be able to communicate what we experience in us, that we know that others are going to communicate later. Right? And that's how it works. It's no different than a roadmap. How long does it take in order for spiritual energy communication to go from New York City to Japan? Right? I'm not talking about through an antenna like the ones that they put up. I'm talking about the morphogenetic field structure of communication between our DNA and the lines of communication on the planet, the server. Hey, I became aware of that. And so you know the difference between what's true and what's not true, because you can experience the transmission, which is living life with a spirit and a soul, rather than some technology like a cell phone rolled out by DARPA, right? DARPANET, because they're all weaponized. I know, Mama. So anyway, it warmed my heart last night to read that. So that's my first. Have a beautiful day. Oh man, I went outside this morning, and what beautiful clouds over the Pacific Ocean, over the house this morning on the north side of the Big Island of Hawaii. Y'all have a nice day. Be good to yourselves. Mua.